on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Fubara speaks on Tinubu's intervention in Rivers crisis. Edo panel to investigate Shaibu's gross misconduct Friday. Reps assure adequate funding of students' loan. UNESCO wants cultural entrepreneurship education for young Africans. Tinubu urges ECOWAS member states to unite West Africa. Mark Anthony speaks on Man United player to sign. Davido says father of twins best feeling ever. Now the news in details. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the intervention of President Bola Tinubu in the crisis between him and his estranged political godfather, Nyesom Wike, was political and not constitutional. He said he was committed to implementing the 8-point resolution reached at the mediation meeting with Tinubu in Abuja last year, October, out of respect for the president, and warned that he would surprise those who consider his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. Fubara also said he had been inundated with several comments in the media about the implementation of the peace initiative and had chosen to be silent out of maturity and wisdom, adding that the agreement that was accepted was a political solution. A statement issued in Port Harcourt by Fubara's Chief Press Secretary, Nelson Chukwudi, said he had commenced the implementation of the agreement out of respect for President Tinubu. Governor Fubara, who received members of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees from the 23 local government areas of Rivers State on a solidarity rally at Government House Gate in Port Harcourt, also said their large number was further proof of the nature of the organic support his administration had continued to enjoy from the people of the state. All Progressives Congress in Rivers State has exposed plans by Governor Siminalayi Fubara to secure an interim order to override the laws passed by the State House of Assembly and declare them illegal. He said the plan is to appoint caretaker chairman for the 23 LGAs in the state. APC Caretaker Committee Chairman Sir Tony Okocha, who disclosed this during a press briefing in Port Harcourt, frowned at the move by the governor and vowed to petition the judges involved to the National Judicial Council. He described the move as illegal, insensitive, and a disrespect to President Bola Tinubu's Peace Pact.
He wants to procure interim order restraining or stopping the implementation of the laws which he was vetoed over. He wants to procure an order to announce as illegal the Rivers State House of Assembly as constituted and as led by Right Honorable Martins Chike Amehule. And he's doing that so that he will now leverage on that law, on that order, to go ahead to appoint caretaker committees in local government against the warning of the man he says he respects, the president. But let's put it clearly here that we will stoutly, vehemently oppose some negative subterranean moves. He wants to procure
The APC in River State further took a swipe at the outburst by Governor Siminalayi Fubara when he received members of the local government employees in Government House on Wednesday. Recall that Governor Fubara had, during a rally by the local employees on Wednesday, said President Bola Tinubu's peace pact is a political solution and not constitutional rights, adding that his silence should not be taken as weakness. But the APC Caretaker Committee Chairman Satoni Okocha described Fubara's outburst as disrespectful to the person of President Bola Tinubu, who intervened in the political crisis in River State, adding that Fubara's display of rascality shows no sign of peace. Okocha, who identified the principle of separation of power between the legislative and the executive arms of government in River State as the major cause of the political crisis in the state, is associated with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike from the menace, and therefore demands, amongst others, that the River State Governor should obey the 8 points Peace Pact by representing the budget to the recognized State Assembly headed by Martin Zamehule and conduct local government elections.
This unprovoked outburst further support our assertions that it is Governor Fubara who mobilized his cronies to institute suits in law courts challenging the powers of Mr. President to churn out the Peace Pact. Is it not true that with Governor Sim's outburst, Mr. President is limited only in Rivers State to his avowal as sworn to protect and defend the entire territory and sovereignty of Nigeria, which of course includes Rivers State. In other words, Rivers State in itself, according to Governor Siminalayi Fubara, is a sovereign nation state with Governor Fubara now as the GCFR. Is it true to claim respect for one that you don't obey? Who was Governor Fubara warning to surprise in such a crooked, high-pitched voice in public?
Have called on Governor Fubara to recount how he emerged as the governor of Rivers during the February 2023 election in the state that got him into office as the executive governor of Rivers State. He reminded Fubara about his fallout with the FCT minister concerning the implementation of the Presidential Peace Pact, which he described as a political solution to the initial crisis rocking the state. Speaking on Atlantic Open Conversation, a political analyst, Ifeanyi Chukwu Ugochukwu, said the former governor of Rivers State, now the FCT minister, Ezenwo Nyesom, solely worked out the victory of the February 2023 elections and deserves to be honored for the efforts.
In 2023, and Fubara is now, I can say that he's now assuming the position of the late president of Nigeria, who is the late Musa Yar'Adua, who said that the election that brought him were flawed. Because that is what I'm waiting for Fubara to do, because the sympathy he's gathering now, he never got it from the Rivers populace during the campaigns and during the election, even when he was sworn in, all because a deputy minister now muzzled everybody out, silenced everywhere, and made sure that he had his way. And it was not the person of Fubara that the Rivers people were disdaining, but because of the person behind his coming to power. So today, he suddenly find out that people are now supporting him. That is why he quickly signed the peace pact in Abuja. What he was talking about, because he never knew his ground.
The peace pact is...
Meanwhile, Mr. Asim Adams expressed disappointment over the lingering political feud in the state will as well hinder the leadership stride of the current administration.
The Rivers State imbroglio between one hand, the governor and the FCT minister, and on the other hand, with the governor, the executive, and the legislature, has not abated. Instead of abating on a daily track, is exacerbating. And that is sorry sight for people of Rivers State. I was thinking by now, fences would have been mended, but you find out that at what point in time, the minister will speak from Abuja, a war mode. The governor on this other side will speak from Muhammad in a war mode. The House of Assembly also will turn out war threats, etc., as the case may be. So it's such of a rig.
It is recalled that the River State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has warned that he will surprise those who consider his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. Fubara said he had been flooded with several reactions in the media over the implementation of the peace initiative and had chosen to be quiet out of wisdom. The governor said it was important to put the records straight for clarity, saying that accepting President Bola Tinubu's intervention and accompanying agreement was a political solution. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has condemned the list of the People's Democratic Party caretaker committee members for the state and local government areas circulating in public, which was allegedly released by the PDP National Secretariat. But speaking at the flag-off of the Auto Spare Parts Trading Commercial Center in Iriebe in Obiapo local government area, the governor described the list as the handiwork of publicity seekers. A statement issued by the Chief Press Secretary to the governor, Nelson Chukudi, said the national leadership of the party had met recently and agreed that in states where the tenure of PDP executives had expired, they should continue as caretakers for the next 3 months. The governor clarified that the National Executive Council did not approve that new names should be added to the already existing number of officers or any subsisting officer removed, while the governor said River State remained a very important state to protect, which is why his administration has chosen the path of peace in order to engender progress. Commenting on the automobile spare parts trading and commercial center project, Governor Fubara said the project was evidence of his genuine interest in the well-being of Rivers people and the desire to promote growth, not because of any personal or business interest. Inspector General of Police Kayode Betokun says 9 persons have been arrested in connection with the killings of police officers in the Ugeli area of Delta State. Betokun, who disclosed this announcement at the management meeting of the force, said those arrested are currently providing the force with information that will assist in the arrest of those involved in the killings of 6 police officers that were killed at Uhuru Forest in the Ugeli North local government area of Delta State on February 23, 2024. Their deaths came almost at the same time. 17 military personnel were murdered in the oil-rich Delta State, while 6 other suspects connected with the killings are at large. The soldiers were killed while on a peace mission in Okwama community of Ugeli South local government area in an incident that caused nationwide outrage and condemnation, and the military authorities vowed to hunt down the masterminds of the attack, but insisted the development won't deter them from stamping out criminals from the country. President Bola Tinubu equally conferred posthumous national awards on the slain soldiers and awarded scholarships to their children. Edo State House of Assembly says the state's Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu allegedly leaked the government's secrets and committed perjury, describing them as impeachable offenses. The Assembly, represented by its Deputy Clerk Joe Ohaifa, who disclosed this while speaking at the inaugurating sitting of the 7-man panel probing Shaibu. The panel, headed by retired Justice Ase Omonua, was raised by the Edo State Chief Judge, Justice Daniel Okungowa, at the instance of the State Assembly, which on March 5th commenced impeachment proceedings against the deputy government, adding that the impeachment proceedings were based on a petition accusing Shaibu of perjury and leaking the government's secrets. The impeachment move is believed to be the latest development in the rift between Shaibu and his principal governor, Godwin Obaseki, while the deputy clerk said Shaibu leaks the state's secrets in the affidavit he filed in support of an Abuja lawsuit. He also said Shaibu violated the oath of secrecy he took and acted contrary to the provisions of Schedule 7 of the 1999 Constitution, and the panel, after hearing the Assembly's case, adjourned for Shaibu to enter his defense. 7-man panel set up by the Edo State Chief Judge, Justice Daniel Okunbowa, to investigate the allegation of gross misconduct leveled against the state's Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu has fixed Friday, April 5th, 2024 for final adjournment for the Deputy Governor to defend himself. The panel took the decision when it resumed its sitting while the Deputy Governor and his council were absent. The chairman of the panel, Justice S.A. Omonua, retired, said that the panel would wait to see if the defendant would open his defense and thereafter called for the defendant as well as the Edo State House of Assembly, which initiated the impeachment process. The legal officer, Edo State House of Assembly, N.U. Ibrahim, announced his appearance for the Assembly with two others, while the chairman ruled that the panel would still adjourn to give the defendant the opportunity to appear before it to present his defense. Justice Omonua said the panel is adjourned for the last time to April 5th, 2024 at 12 noon to allow the defendant to present his defense. Cross River State Governor Basio II says he inherited an empty treasury from his predecessor, Benedict Ayade. The Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Anko Edet, who disclosed this in Calabar, the state capital, said the present government inherited poor infrastructure but has commenced some road rehabilitation across the state. Edet said the O2 administration will not abandon any task started by the previous government and has achieved significant progress in urban development. Abia State Governor Alex Oti of the Abia State is urging the naval authorities for support of more personnel for the state to enhance security. He said security remains a priority on his administration's agenda and therefore will strive to sustain it. Oti, who disclosed this when he received a delegation of the Flag Officer Commanding Naval Training Command, Lagos Rear Admiral Ignatius Albara, who was in the state on a familiarization tour of the Nigerian Navy College of Accounting and Finance, Orienta, said security is paramount for the government because all of its initiatives will amount to nothing if security fails. He also said in the last 10 months, all security outfits in the state have been working tirelessly to ensure adequate security for the state, adding that his government has set up an interagency outfit, Operation Crush, dedicated to ensuring maximum security in the state, which has been successful. Earlier, the Flag Officer Commanding Naval Training Command, Albara, said he was in the state for a familiarization tour to the Nigerian Navy College of Accounting and Finance, Orienta, having assumed duties a few weeks ago, and commended the governor for his giant strides in the state and the generous support given to the college to make their work easier. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has stopped an illegal bunkering site in the Ukwa East local government of Abia State. A statement signed by the NSCDC spokesperson Babawale Afolabi said the operatives impounded 9,000 liters of automotive gas oil from oil thieves in the state, adding that the operations were conducted by the Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad in a renewed onslaught against the activities of economic saboteurs. He said the squad, through credible intelligence, got wind of oil bunkering activities taking place at Ihandu Ikwaratio Riverside, Ukwa East Council area, saying uninterrupted loading and conveyance of automotive gas oil concealed in cellophane bags were ongoing in the area. He also said those involved in the illegal activities ran away on citing the NSCDC operatives, adding that the Intelligence and Investigation Department had commenced an investigation on the matter while operatives were on the trails of the oil thieves. Following the inspection by the National Assembly Joint Committee on Works on the repair work of the Third Mainland Bridge and other federal government projects in Lagos State, the Third Mainland Bridge has been reopened. Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, who disclosed this, warned motorists to observe speed limits when traveling along the extensive section of the newly repaired Third Mainland Bridge. A statement issued by the agency's spokesperson, Adebayo Taufik, urged motorists to observe all traffic signs and install technological equipment connected to traffic, while the Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiyemi, on his X account said the Third Mainland Bridge will resume full operations on April 4, 2024, following extensive repairs. Operatives of the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft says they have discovered an automated gas oil of 400,000 litre capacity bunker at a private residence in the Lekki area of Lagos State. The discovery followed intelligence received by the base that a gas tanker was seen loading at Elegushi Beach. During the handing over the suspects and recovered products, to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps at Civil Ilasun in Lekki through the commander, NNS Beecroft. Commodore Rafiu Taye Oladejo said the suspects operated an unregistered company, Ahmed Ariyo's Sons Nigeria Limited, in a residential neighborhood. He alleged that two sisters and other suspects were running an illegal family business without care for the safety of others, while expressing worry that an apartment of this nature was serving as an illegal fuel depot, undermining the economic and security implications on lives and properties in the area. The commander also said the estimated worth of all the storage facilities at AGO full capacity was about 500 million naira. Several residents of the Egan community in the Eleko area of Fajah, Lagos State, are urging the State House of Assembly in Ikeja to order the compensation for the demolition of their houses. Residents of the affected community who were wielding large banners with boldly written messages as well as placards with inscriptions to communicate their plight barricaded the Lagos House main gate. Speaking on behalf of the protesters, Dr. Taiwo Alalade decried how her entire family, including 3 toddlers and her elderly mother, had been sleeping out in the open after their house was demolished. Economic Council, addressing the protesters, the majority leader of the House, Nohim Adams, who was accompanied by his colleagues Oladipupo Ajomale, Fatai Mujid and Tijani Suraju, commended them for their peaceful conduct, adding that their letter will be presented to the Speaker of the House, Madashiru Obasa, and the needful will be done to bring respite to them. This is coming after the Lagos State government recently demolished houses considered not meeting the requirement prescribed by the state, while some of the structures taken down were also found to be obstructing drainage channels. Public affairs analysts have called on the government and civil society organizations to regulate the activities carried out by herbalists across the country in order to reduce the rising rate of family misdemeanor and social disorderliness posed by their uncontrolled activities. Speaking on Atlantic Television Society Watch, a public affairs analyst, Emmanuel Nweke, stressed on the need for monitoring and evaluation of herbalist activities in order to minimize the alarming rate of complications caused among families.
Episode of African Magic, where we are now seeing this extra technological variable, the force attracting people to come together without consent. It's technology to be so investigated. Yeah, you just see a lady and then you, provided there is a charm, and there is no the minimal comfort around there, you can still stay for 6 days, and then such a charm can also shut somebody from calls or taking calls. I don't really know.
Okay.
So, and this.
Coming after a 35-year-old man, Abayomi Babalola, was arrested by operatives of the Amotekun Corps in Osun State over allegations that he kept a housewife as a sex slave for 3 weeks. A statement obtained in Osobo, the spokesperson for Osun Amotekun Corps, Yusuf Idowu, alleged that the suspect, living in Modakeke, had used a magic ring made for him by a cleric to commandeer the victim, identified simply as Sofiat, out of her husband's house and moved her to Modakeke, where she was kept as a sex slave. National chairmanship aspiration of former Benue State Governor Gabriel Suswam has been approved by the concerned Benue People's Democratic Party and stakeholders. The stakeholders made the declaration during a meeting in Makurdi, Benue State. Chairman of the stakeholders, Dr. Paul Ubwa, said PDP members in the state have resolved to mobilize support for Suswam's aspiration to occupy the position of national chairman of PDP, which is predicated on the constitution of the party that allows a person from the area of the former office holder to take his office when he ceases to be in office. A former Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Professor Nicholas Ada, who was the guest speaker at the occasion, said they came to endorse Suswam, who is from Benue and the Middle Belt, like the former holder of the office, adding that Suswam's chairmanship will raise the party from the ashes and place it in its rightful position. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has set up 2 judicial panels to probe misappropriation of government assets and cases of political violence in the state. The 2 panels are to unravel those involved in misappropriation of public properties and political violence between 2015 to 2023. During the inauguration of the panels, Yusuf vowed to bring those indicted for the crime to book, adding that investigating the misappropriation of public assets was part of the promises he made during his inauguration. All Progressives Congress National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje was governor of Kano State from 2015 to 2023, stressing that the panel, headed by Justice Zuwaira Yusuf, will investigate political violence and missing persons from 2015 to 2023, while Justice Farouk Lawan will head the panel tasked with investigating cases of misappropriation of public properties and assets. The governor charged the panel to identify cases of misappropriation of public properties and assets, especially by the last administration, within and outside the state, noting that the setting up of the panels was neither political nor targeted at any individual. The panels were directed to turn in their reports in 3 months. The Department of State Services says it has obtained a court order to detain a Nigerian, Emmanuel Osaze, who is accused of being a member of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja said the DSS could detain the suspect for 60 days, while the order followed an ex parte application taken before the judge by a DSS lawyer. AA Uji told the court that the matter was brought pursuant to Section 66 of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 and prayed the court for an order enabling the applicant to detain the suspect for 60 days pending the conclusion of investigation. The judge subsequently adjourned to June 3rd for further proceedings, while Osaze, who was arrested on March 11th, was accused of propagating IS messages as well as opposing the democratic system of government in Nigeria. In a March 27, 2024 affidavit, Ahmed Abubakar of the DSS Legal Service Department, Abuja, said the suspect needed to be detained because his release would jeopardize the DSS investigation, and Osaze was jailed for 5 years for terrorism-related offenses in France and was deported after the completion of his sentence. Defense Headquarters in Abuja says its operations across the country in the first quarter of 2024 has killed over 2,351 terrorists and arrested more 2,308 suspected terrorists and 1,241 kidnapped hostages rescued. Given the breakdown of successes for the period under review, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said troops also recovered 2,847 weapons, 58,492 ammunition, and denied the oil theft of an estimated sum over 20 billion naira, among others. He also said the military have employed significant firepower to kill several terrorists and disrupt their activities, adding that the successes were enhanced through synchronized strikes between the ground and air forces on terrorist enclaves.
Of 2024 has resulted in 2,351 terrorists neutralized, 2,308 persons arrested, and 1,241 kidnapped hostages rescued in the first quarter. Furthermore, troops recovered in this first quarter 2,847 weapons and over 58,000 assorted ammunition. And we denied the oil theft of over 20 billion naira in this first quarter of 2024. The breakdown is as follows. We recovered 1,497 AK-47 rifles. We recovered over 33,000 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition and over 12,000 rounds of 7.62 NATO ammunition, as well as 948 assorted arms and over 5,000 assorted ammunition. Other achievements within this first quarter includes the recovery of over 21,000 liters of stolen crude oil, over 2.7 million liters of illegally refined ADO, otherwise known as diesel, over 53,000 liters of DPK, otherwise known as kerosene, and over 52,000 liters of PMS, otherwise known as petrol.
Of the terrorist kingpins are Abu Bilal Minuki, aka Abubakar Manok, head of Is Al Furqan province, ISGS and ISWAP, and Haruna Isia Buderi. He was a notorious terrorist who operated along burning Gwari Forest in Kaduna State, as well as the Abuja-Kaduna Highway. He was killed by troops on 21st February 2024. Others are Kachala Damina, who was killed on March 24th by troops alongside over 50 combatants, Kachala Al-Haji Dai, Kachala Idi, Kachala Kabiru, called Doka, as well as Kachala Azarailu, known as Farin Ruwa, Kachala Balejo, Ubangida, and Alhaji Badu, among several others. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said in Abuja that a total of 2,351 terrorists were killed, while 2,308 were captured. Concerned Igbo Citizens Council is calling on the federal government to, as a matter of necessity, approve the unconditional release of all pro-Biafra activists and other Nigerians incarcerated for self-determination agitations in fulfillment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's promised commitment to free society. A statement signed by its interim national coordinator and interim secretary, Comrade Ukachukwu Obiaha, and Mazi James Okorie, respectively in Owerri, Imo State capital, said the unconditional release of Sunday Igboho, a pro-Odua Republic agitator, and Omoyele Sowore is commendable, and insisted that the same gesture must be extended to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and all other Nigerians currently detained for similar activities. The statement also said the continued detention of Kanu and hundreds of Igbo youths over indigenous people of Biafra activities, while their Yoruba counterparts have been granted reprieve by the present administration, that gives an unsavory ethnic and sectional coloration to federal government's action. Additionally, the group urged the Department of State Services, the police, and the National Human Rights Commission to, as a matter of urgency, commence investigation and compilation of lists of those killed, maimed, and unlawfully incarcerated for self-determination agitation across board. United Nations Office on Drug and Crime says it has donated wildfire monitoring and enforcement equipment to the federal government in a bid to bring an end to wildlife trafficking from Nigeria. UNODC presented the equipment to the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, which is an organization of the federal government in charge of combating wildlife trafficking from Nigeria. The Director General, NSEREA, Professor Aliyu Jaro, while receiving the equipment in Abuja, said wildlife traffickers now adopt sophisticated methods, stressing that the agency would need standard equipment to tackle this menace, adding that the provision of real-time equipment would greatly enhance wildlife monitoring, investigation, intelligence gathering, enforcement, evidence collection, data generation, data management, and transmission. A statement issued in Abuja said the government was taking all the necessary steps to rid the country of wildlife crimes, as the recent destruction of seized wildlife stockpiles was intended to discourage perpetrators of the crime and also send out the signal that the country would not tolerate any form of wildlife crime on its soil. Jaro also said Nigeria had put in place the necessary checks at the borders in the bid to frustrate the activities of those who seek to use the country as a transit hub for illegal shipment of controlled wildlife and their products, and expressed appreciation to the UNODC, adding that the gadgets would be deployed to the zonal and state field offices of the agency, particularly those areas identified as hotspots for traffickers. Labour Party has raised alarm over the fire outbreak that raised the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, and his family at his official residence in Abuja. A statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, who insinuated that the incident was an assassination attempt, said his family did not sustain any serious injury and the victims were rushed to a private health facility for medical treatment. This is coming after Abure and the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress had political tussle for the control of Labour Party. Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned the tax evasion case involving Binance Holdings Limited and its executives. Also joined in the suit are officials of the company, Tigran Gambarian and fleeing Nadeem Anjawala. This is coming after the Federal Inland Revenue Service had dragged the firm to court for tax evasion. In the suit, Binance was accused of failing to register with the FIRS for the purpose of paying all relevant taxes administered by the service, and also alleged that while it was offering taxable services to subscribers on its trading platform, the company failed to issue invoices to the subscribers for the purposes of determining and payment of its value-added taxes. The matter was adjourned on Thursday following the FIRS inability to serve Gambayan the charges in EFCC custody while alleged money laundering case instituted by the EFCC is underway. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested and detained controversial cross-dresser Idris Okuneye, aka Bobrisky, over abuse of naira, spraying of naira notes, and currency mutilation. Bobrisky, who has been involved in several controversies over the past weeks, was arrested in Lagos on Wednesday night and has since been detained at the Lagos command of the EFCC. Spokesperson for the EFCC, Dele Oyewale, said that Bobrisky would be charged to court. Dele also said following the invitation by the Commission, he arrived at the Lagos Zonal Command of the EFCC in the morning of April 4, 2024 for interrogation and volunteered his statements and will soon be charged to court upon conclusion of investigations. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now the rest of our stories. Few cents after President Bola Tinubu signed the student loan scheme into law, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund says it would begin a pilot phase of the student loan scheme with applicants from public tertiary institutions, with students of federal and state universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. The loan fund has urged President Bola Tinubu to soon appoint a chairperson, a managing director, and 2 executive directors as part of its executive management team. The spokesperson for the fund, Mr. Nasir Ayitogo, said the provisions of the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, which Tinubu signed into law on the same day, was expected to launch the scheme after appointing qualified persons into the offices provided by the new law. The executive bill was titled a Bill for an Act to Repeal the Students' Loans Access to Higher Education Act 2023 and enact the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Bill 2004 to establish the Nigerian Education Loan Fund as a body corporate to receive, manage and invest funds to provide loans to Nigerians for higher education, vocational training and skills acquisition, and for related matters. The newly signed piece of legislation allows for the appointment of a chairperson of the fund, a managing director, and 2 executive directors of finance and operations, each to assist the managing director in performing his duties. House of Representatives have acquired adequate funding of the students' loan for the benefits of Nigerian students studying in public-owned tertiary institutions across country. Chairman of the House Committee on Student Loan, Scholarship and Higher Education Financing, Honorable Boyega Isiaka, gave the assurance during a press briefing held in Abuja. The lawmaker disclosed that the quantum of funds required for successful implementation of the student loan will be drawn from 1% of all revenues accruing into the Federation account, adding that the repeal of the initial Student Loan Act was necessitated with a view to remove all bottleneck that may deprive a lot of Nigerian students from accessing the loan.
Assessing the loan, the condition, the bottleneck, and the institutional challenge. Well, the conditions and the bottleneck, that is what this law has tried to remove. And that is why the issue of guarantors were removed. So that, and in this age of technology, and knowing that these are the youths, these are people that are knowledgeable, some of those institutional challenges too, we should be able to circumvent them, because most of it, I know, will be online, will be tech-based. I mean, the whole essence of this is, number one, is about cost sharing. Number two is also to give the students the opportunity to also have a say into their future. Now, if you want to go and read engineering, and the cost of engineering is so much, and you feel that your parents cannot afford it, therefore you want to, because of that, go to business admin or go to sociology. Now you have opportunity to go and read your engineering, because you know that at least you'll be able to, you'll be able to, assess a loan that can take you out of school, and also to bring some sanity into our education system. We now have a situation where, at the end of the day, both the government, the parents, and the students are all contributing towards educating a child. I mean, who will now be given an opportunity to start repayment up to a maximum of 10% of his gross income, that is what is in the law, when it's even started.
Honorable Boyega Isiaka, Chairman of the House Committee on Student Loans, Scholarship and Higher Education Financing. The member also disclosed that anyone convicted is liable to 2 million naira fine or 3 months imprisonment or both. Speaking on the possible takeoff time of the scheme, he expressed optimism that the executive will expedite action on the setting up of the management team of the institution without further delay, and also averred that the education loan has both economic and social benefits, and the student loan is interest-free loan and also has a flexible repayment arrangement. Ume Kalu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Counsel for the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, says the decision and resolution to suspend Senator Abdul Ningi, representing PDP in Bauchi State, was that of the Senate sitting in plenary and not that of Akpabio. Kalu stated this in a letter to human rights lawyer Femi Falana, SAN, titled Request to lift the suspension of Senator Abdul Ningi in Abuja. This is coming after Ningi was suspended by the Senate for 3 months on March 12 over the 2024 budget padding allegation. Ume Kalu also said, Apabio, our client's role at the session of the Senate that led to your client's suspension was and remains the statutory role of a legislative house presiding officer, which role equally includes pronouncing the majority decision of the legislative house and at the end of debate and voting. Permit us to mention your attempt at drawing our client's attention to legal authorities and pronouncement of our court of records on the constitutionality of suspending members of legislative houses. The Institute for African Culture and International Understanding says there is need for cultural entrepreneurship education for young Africans to foster economic growth and enrich the cultural industry. Director of the Institute and former Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Peter Okebukola, who disclosed this while speaking at a workshop organized for young entrepreneurs by the Institute at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library at Abeokuta, Ogun State, said the workshop was aimed at equipping young creative artists with entrepreneurial skills to enable them enhance their creative output through digital platforms. He said, nurturing this entrepreneurial talent would lead to the emergence of cultural ambassadors who could continually create and promote cultural assets both locally and on the global stage, and it is vital to bring young Africans together to explore the diverse expressions of culture and to raise awareness about their value at local, national and international levels. While recognizing that innovation drives competitiveness, economic growth, and social transformation, Okebukola highlighted the importance of empowering young artists to preserve cultural treasures and foster creativity from these cultural assets, and urged the participants to become cultural ambassadors who will protect and promote African culture. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission says electricity subsidy for the 2024 fiscal year is expected to reduce by about 1.14 trillion naira, and it is in furtherance of the federal government's realignment of the subsidy regime. Speaking on the newly upward review of electricity tariff, the Commission said it was in pursuant to the provisions of the Electricity Act 2023, which mandated NEC to allow a licensee operating in the Nigerian electricity supply industry to charge rates sufficient to recover the full cost of its efficient operation, including a reasonable return on the capital invested in the business. A statement by the management of the Commission said it was subject to extensive reviews having regard to the imperative for protecting customers while allowing investors to recover sufficient revenue to incentivize investments necessary for continuous improvement in service delivery. He also said the Commission has established a robust monitoring framework leveraging technology to ensure that the public has visibility of the service covenant with their service providers, while an enforcement and compensation mechanism had been established in the event of service failure. Clearing agents under the Africa Association of Professional Freight Forwarders and Logistics of Nigeria have condemned the new haulage rates for eastern seaports approved by the Nigerian Shippers Council. A statement by the national president of APFF-LON, Frank Ogunojemite, said that the newly approved rates do not reflect the current reality. Recall that the NSC recently disclosed that it had approved reviewed haulages rates from eastern ports to various destinations in the country. The council said the rates approved were in consideration of cost moderation and cargo transport issues and were acceptable by all parties, including freight forwarders and truck owners, and also argued that the NSC's claim that there were harmonious negotiations and the rates were generally accepted by all parties was a farce, as those who appended their signatures were coerced to do so. He urged the federal government to always implement policies with a human face, especially at a time when people were struggling to feed themselves. Barge Operators Association of Nigeria is calling on the federal government to limit the number of trucks that are used to transport containers from the ports because they damage the road infrastructure. The National Public Relations Officer of BOAN, Daniel Eze, who disclosed this in Lagos, said having too many loads on a road reduces the lifespan of the road because it affects the road structure. He also said there is a certain tonnage of cargo that should not be allowed to be transported by road and blamed the high exchange rate for about 30% drop in the volume of trade in the sector. National Shippers Association of Nigeria is urging the federal government to build more deep-sea ports in the country in order to decongest the ports in Lagos. The President General of NSAN, Dr. Innocent Akuvwe, who disclosed this in Lagos, links the dependence on Lagos port for vehicle transportation on the lack of roll-on-roll of facilities in other ports within the country. He said bringing vehicles to ports where there are fewer activities would create more problems for the importers. Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria says the selection process of beneficiaries for a 5 billion naira credit facility allotted meant for small businesses in the country will include the submission of Corporate Affairs Commission certificate and tax identification number as a compulsory requirement to obtain the loan. The head of Corporate Affairs, Moshood Lawal, who disclosed this in Abuja, said SME DAN signed an agreement with Sterling Bank to disburse loan options ranging from 250,000 naira to 2.5 million at a single-digit interest rate of 9% while facilitating the growth of small businesses through enhanced financial access. SMEDAN Director General Charles Odi described it as an important milestone in our efforts to stimulate economic growth and drive prosperity by enhancing SMEs' access to finance and contribute to an overall upswing in beneficial trade and economic activities. He also said submission of CAC certificate and tax identification number was needed to identify fake applicants and ensure the funds is given to the right persons. Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry says the hike in electricity tariff will cause massive job loss and worse inflation in Nigeria. The president of LCCI, Gabriel Idahosa, who disclosed this in a statement while reacting to the new electricity hike, said one of the immediate ripple effects would be that companies would start laying off workers, cut operational costs, and increase the cost of goods and services. He also said the latest electricity tariff hike comes as citizens continue to grapple with epileptic power supply since January 2024, stressed that in June last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government removed few subsidies, leading to a hike in the pump price of the product and its attendant hardship. Trade Union Congress says no Nigerian receives 20 hours of power supply per day and the new electricity tariff hike is unacceptable. TUC's Deputy President Tommy Etim, who disclosed this in his statement, said the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory approved a 250% electricity tariff hike for electricity customers in Band A, homes in urban areas, while customers with a 20-hour supply power, which falls under Band B, will pay 225 naira per kilowatt from 68 naira. However, TUC has faulted the Nigerian government, saying it is only interested in revenue generation at the expense of citizen survival and believes so much in revenue generation to the detriment of the citizens' survival. Federal government says it is planning to begin the issuance of domestic foreign currency denominated bonds from this quarter. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, who disclosed this at a parley with business leaders in Lagos, said government decision is expected to herald domestic issuance of similar bonds by companies and sub-nationals, as well as a plan already given provisional approval by the country's apex capital regulator. He said the sovereign domestic foreign currency issuance aligns with government's move to attract more forex inflows to stabilize the naira. Dollar shortages have had significant adverse impact on the naira. The minister also said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in October 2023 signed executive orders to allow domestic issuance of instruments in foreign currency, also allow all cash outside the banking system to be brought into the banks, adding that the government had not issued the bonds earlier because it sought to first build confidence in its fiscal policy and gain the trust of citizens who are skeptical of government policies. This is coming after the Nigeria's apex capital regulators, Security and Exchange Commissions had given a provisional no objection to the proposal to allow companies and governments to undertake dollar-denominated listings on the Nigerian stock market. Federal government has financed 48 million euros for the second phase of its energy support program. The component lead Enabling Environment Nigerian Energy Support Program, Mr. Joshua Yari, said this at the one-day summit organized in Abuja with the theme Prospects of Energy Transition Plan, adding that the project is co-funded by the European Union of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, while the Nigerian government is also at the NESP to put almost about 90 million euros to support its government for the third phase. He also said the World Bank with the Nigerian electrification program is bringing in $750 million to support the Nigerian government in terms of integration of renewable energy and energy efficiency, particularly in the rural areas, while the energy transition plan had 5 focal areas, and one of them was to create an enabling environment to support and foster investments within Nigeria. Director General ECN Dr. Mustafa Abdullahi said Nigeria must confront challenges including investment barriers, grid integration issues, robust policy frameworks, and some hurdles of energy transition goals. Now to international tidbits. President Bola Tinubu has called on ECOWAS member states to come together, strengthen ties, and reject forces bent on causing division within the community. Speaking at the inauguration of the 6th legislature of the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja, President Tinubu, who is the chairman of ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, said regional solidarity is imperative to strengthen the bloc's resilience and effectiveness at this critical juncture. A statement by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Chief Ajuru Ngelale, said member states cannot afford to remain passive spectators while the community faces the threat of disintegration. The President reaffirmed Nigeria's unwavering commitment to the aspirations of the community and, by extension, the fundamental objectives upon which the ECOWAS Parliament was established. Affirming the important role of the ECOWAS Parliament in the bloc's journey towards a future of peace and prosperity for all, President Tinubu said success cannot be achieved without the loyal contribution and hard work of the community's legislative agency. President Tinubu also said Nigeria, as the host of the community's institutions, will continue to support the Parliament to achieve its objectives. 3 former Supreme Court justices have joined more than 600 legal experts in calling for the UK government to end weapons sales to Israel. In a letter to the Prime Minister, they said exports must end because the UK risks breaking international law over a plausible risk of genocide in Gaza, and Rishi Sunak is already facing growing cross-party pressure after 7 aid workers were killed in an airstrike. He said the UK has a very careful arms licensing regime, and the British sales are lower than those of other countries, including Germany and Italy, and dwarfed by the billions supplied by its largest arms supplier, the United States. Russian airstrikes overnight in Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv, killed 4 people and injured 11. 3 rescue workers died during a second strike on a residential building in a densely populated district of Kharkiv. Igor Terekov, the mayor of the eastern city, and the police described the 4th victim as a 68-year-old woman and said 11 people had been injured in the night's attacks. Kharkiv's governor Oleg Sinegubov said Russian forces had launched at least 15 drones, while some of which had been downed. The Ukraine cities are the target of Russian strikes almost every night, with Kharkiv near the northeastern border among those most regularly attacked. Ukrainian officials have urged the country's allies to supply more anti-aircraft defense systems, in particular modern U.S.-made Patriot systems, while the U.S. military aid to Ukraine has been drying up, with $60 billion funding package currently stalled in Congress. Former President Donald Trump tops President Joe Biden in all but one of the crucial battleground states that will likely decide their 2024 rematch. With 7 months to go until the presidential election, Trump with the edge over the president in 6 of the 7 states polled: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina, and the survey showed Trump holds a 6-point lead over Biden in North Carolina in a ballot that also includes third-party and independent candidates. Trump also has a 5-point lead in Arizona, a 4-point edge in Nevada, and 3-point advantages in Michigan and Pennsylvania, while the former president edges Biden by a single point in Georgia, with the two tied in Wisconsin. Trump held similar leads when those questions were given a head-to-head matchup between the former president and Biden, while Biden narrowly edged Trump in all the battlegrounds tested, other than North Carolina, to win the White House in 2020. Now to sports news. Police says South African footballer Luke Fleurs has been shot dead in a car hijacking. The shooting took place at a petrol station on Wednesday night in the Johannesburg suburb of Florida, while Kaizer Chiefs star was waiting to be attended to when he was approached by unknown gunmen who ordered him to get out of the vehicle. Police spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Mavela Masondo said Kaizer Chiefs, one of the most popular clubs in the country and 12-time league champions, described his death as tragic. The club said police were handling the matter and further details will be communicated in due course, while Sports Minister Zizi Kodwa said he was saddened that yet another life has been caught shot due to violent crime. Peterborough Chairman Darragh McIntyre has identified Manchester United to sign Brentford striker Ivan Toney next season. McIntyre believes Toney can make Man United into title challengers next season and turns Manchester United into challengers for the Premier League. Toney has scored 36 goals in the Premier League for Brentford since joining the club in 2020. His contract with the Bees will expire in 2025, and he has been linked with the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea and Man United this summer. Manchester City forward Phil Foden has hailed his teammate Rodri, saying the Spaniard can do everything on the pitch. Foden also described the Spain international as Manchester City's most important player. Foden scored a sublime hat-trick as City thrashed Aston Villa 4-1 on Wednesday night. With the team's league-leading scorer Erling Haaland an unused substitute, the England midfielder stepped up for the Premier League champions, and Rodri was outstanding throughout the game. Dario Canovi, a former agent of Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Thiago Motta, has shared his view on the very club Victor Osimhen will join next season. Osimhen is set to leave Napoli at the end of the current season, and the Italian Serie A champions have confirmed the decision, while Arsenal and Chelsea are interested in the Nigeria international, including the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester United and Liverpool also admire him. However, Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea are the two major clubs going all out to sign the Super Eagles striker. And now to entertainment news. Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, says he is happy being a father of twins. He described it as the best feeling ever, and the twins don't cry, and they are growing so fast. He assured that the album would arrive this year and would appear on the American Stars album, scheduled to drop in 2 weeks' time. He also said he has over 20 unreleased songs together with Brown, which is at the possibility of a joint project. Billionaire businessman Elon Musk says he has strong desire to buy shares of American multinational mass media and entertainment conglomerate, the Walt Disney Company, commonly known as Disney. He said he would do so only if activist investor Nelson Peltz was elected to Disney's board. And this is coming after Peltz lost a challenge to Disney's board, with majority of stakeholders voting against him. Reacting, Musk, who recently appointed as Disney's chief diversity officer, said he believed that Peltz has a lot to offer the company, going by his track record. On his X handle, he wrote Nelson Peltz should definitely be on the Disney board. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Fubara speaks on Tinubu's intervention in Rivers crisis. Edo panel to investigate Shaibu's gross misconduct Friday. Reps assure adequate funding of students' loan. UNESCO wants cultural entrepreneurship education for young Africans. Tinubu urges ECOWAS member states to unite West Africa. McAntony speaks on Man United players to sign. Davido says father of twins best feeling ever. I am Valentina Lawrence. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on all our social media platforms on X Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, Atlantic TV Network, or you can watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you. Have a lovely night.